So today we're going to talk about creating class environments using video. And I want to talk to you about these really interesting ways of recording your class and using ADA compliance and all of these interesting tools that we have available to us for our synchronous, online, asynchronous, or learning. Just recently, our amazing leaders talked about ways that we could identify our courses, the courses that we have that are hybrid, the courses that we have that are synchronous or asynchronous. So for all of you that are just new to that, a class that is synchronous is a class that involves a specific time that you're engaging the class in the online setting. So at any point at all, if you are online in Zoom with students requiring them to be in class at a particular time, then your class is automatically synchronous. That's it. If anytime during the semester you tell them, look, you've got to be here at this time, it doesn't matter if you're only doing lectures or if you have a certain assignment that they're going to do together. If you need them to do something at a given time together, that is then synchronous, whether it's in class or online. Does that make sense? Because there's a designated time that you need them to sync up together. Your class is going to be called synchronous. Now, if you have a component of your class that is live and in person, and you have a portion of it that is doing anything with the online environment, then that is called a hybrid course. So your hybrid course is going to be probably synchronous if you're going to meet at a particular time and use online resources. So the first thing that I want to talk to you all about is our options for live asynchronous lectures. What I mean by this is that there are tools that allow you to avoid having to record in Zoom and then upload your video into a YouTube link and then post that link in your class. All you need for this is your mobile device, and then you will create an account through YouTube or Instagram or Facebook. So let me tell you about YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. So the thing about it is, I try to say clearly, you want to face your mobile screen on you. So you probably want to set this image here, you want to set your phone, you want to set it to the back of the class, and you want to make sure that your phone is facing this way so that the back of the phone is facing the class. Because if you do it this way, then everything on your screen is going to be reversed. So the words on your screen are going to be backwards if you try to do a mirror reflection and then turn your phone this way. So you have to face your phone so that you can see it and record this way. And this way you will capture everything on your screen and you'll capture yourself walking through the class. You may perhaps need a a tripod, and then your phone or something to set your phone on, high. And then you want to use the live function of YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook, and it will record your lecture as it is going on. The amazing thing about this is that students will be able to watch it while it's happening, or they will be able to utilize this link once it's done to go back and review the lecture as many times as they want, and you never have to worry about recording it in Zoom. Now, of course, the students aren't going to be in there talking because they're going to be watching, but this is one way that you could actually record your lecture and make it available for students to either watch it in real time or they can watch it later. What I love about this is this reinforces teaching and learning. The idea that they have this link available and they can look at it anytime. This means they can be late. They can help their kids with their homework or do whatever it is that they need to do to provide support for their family. And then they can jump in without interrupting anybody and they can actually experience the lecture. Of course, we don't want people to be late, but we know that life is happening right now. And we understand that, our classes, everything that we're doing it's all important, but we have emergencies, we have quarantine, we have all of these different things going on. And we also have so much pressure as faculty members to do all of these different things. And so taking an hour to upload a video or longer. I have a tablet. I don't have a desktop computer at home. So it takes sometimes my computer 3 to 4 hours to upload a 1-hour class into YouTube. And then I can't do other things because my processor is going, and the more I do on my computer while it's trying to upload, the longer it takes for that YouTube video to be available. But with these live asynchronous lectures, your video is available immediately as it's happening, and you can take that, they can go right online to that, and they can stream it and they can watch it over and over again. You can do all of this. I do it in my class. I do Zoom and I do the asynchronous lecture at the same time. So I have the computer with the class, with the students available so that they can be in it. And then that's recording also. So if there's a student who does not have access to Wi-Fi where they can stream, I could always do the basic and download my Zoom recording, and then I can send that recording to them using our online, using our email access here at Shepherd. So you can upload that and you can send it to your students in that particular way. So again, this is how you create a live session for your in-class course. You can also do this when using Zoom. The reason why I don't do this at home using Zoom, I haven't figured it out yet. I may decide to just have my screen showing and not have the students showing. So because I have multiple screens at home, I could actually at home do my synchronous online lesson, and I could face my camera to only my computer, and I can have the screen share and not have it showing my students, not have my students showing, you know, so I could still be doing a synchronous, I can be doing my synchronous online lesson from home, and I could use my phone to then record what is happening. They would see me teaching. So it would be just like this, you know. This is what they would see. They would see me teaching, and they would see everything going on here, you know. But that's another way that you can get them, you know, involved and get the live going on. So this is just really creative. This is new. I have not tried recording the live synchronous, you know, me from my computer. I haven't done that yet, but I know it's possible. I know that we can do it. And I'm just really, really serious about this idea of not having the students' faces recorded in these lectures, especially if they're going to be going in social media. Now, somebody may say something, but you can't identify somebody's voice. Nobody knows who's actually in that class. No one is going to say their name or an identifier for their names to be exposed. But I think it's very important to think about the privacy of the students and not have their faces exposed in a video that's going to be in social media. Now, YouTube Live allows you to have your own YouTube page where people will actually have to, you know, subscribe to your page, and you can make that video private for the people who've subscribed to your page. But, you know, whoever had subscribed to your page before, they have access to that. Even if you created a special Shepherd page, you would still have students from multiple classes who could see that particular lecture. So with doing this, it's always important to me to think about the privacy of your students and to not be recording them, but to be focusing on you as the instructor who is delivering Shepherd's intellectual property and providing that information in a creative way for your students, being very flexible about that. So I can't express it enough. Please think about the privacy of your students and, you know, let them know that it's recorded. Let them know that it's not going to, you know, show their faces or whatever, because you want people to be comfortable, but we understand that we're doing these special things for access. With Instagram, same thing. People, you know, they have to subscribe. So everybody can't see the things that you have. With Facebook, you create a Facebook page as well. And so you allow certain people to go into that particular page. With Facebook, you can have a page for every class. That's the interesting thing about that. So you could create a Facebook account under your university email, and you can have a page for every single class, and then you could only allow the students in that class to that particular Facebook page. You can decide that somebody cannot share the video. So I use Facebook Live because I have my videos on a no share option. So somebody can't go into Facebook and then share that video out and give it to anybody else. They would have to see it from that particular space. So there are different controls depending on what you use. And of course, I'm happy to show you how to do it. But this is a way that you can save yourself some time and energy. The time up front is getting a podium, getting and what is it called for your phone that it sits on? The
tripod.
Getting a tripod for your phone, and then creating an account and then pressing the button. So when I did it today, when I did my class, I sat my tripod down and I pressed record and I taught my class and it was live. I pressed end, share, my class was on Facebook Live, done. Any student who needed that information, right there, instantly, that information was made available to them when I pressed start with live, and then when I pressed share, then they could rewind the video and go back to it. So this will help your students who are quarantined. Next, these are just a couple creative things that I want to try to do. Microsoft Teams, perhaps in the future. I learned about this from a friend. Microsoft Teams actually has live captions for ADA compliance. At some point with these online classes, somebody's going to call people out about ADA compliance. Zoom, you have to actually pay for an added tool to add the live captions of the voice and talking and so on and so forth into the Zoom videos. YouTube has a captioning function. So when you do your Zoom recording, there's no closed caption in that. When you upload it to, when you upload that to YouTube, then you can probably add that on. But if you're just deciding that you're going to use OneNote to download the video and then upload it to a student, you may have students with accessibility challenges or exceptionalities, and there's no closed caption in that video that you've created right now in Zoom. So we will have to be thinking about compliance issues as we move forward with online learning, and we will have to provide these services to some of our students who have accommodations. It's not something that you have to do all the time, but it's just something to think about. So Microsoft Teams does have ADA compliance built in to it with the closed captions, and you can use it for small group synchronous learning. So if you want to have your class not in Zoom, but in Microsoft Teams because you have a student who needs that, then you can download Microsoft Teams for free and you can utilize that instead of Zoom. So be thinking about the needs of your students and be thinking about plan A, plan B, and different things like that. One thing that I think is really interesting about Zoom are the breakout sessions. Now, the thing about the breakout sessions is that you can't record them. So Microsoft Teams, you can record small groups, but in Zoom, you can't record small groups. So once you have a Zoom session, and then you have the option to then take students and put them into small groups using Zoom. And you see here, I have the link to how to create breakout sessions here. It'll show you how to do it if you don't know how to do it. This here is the Microsoft Teams link. This is the link to actually learn about Microsoft Teams. But since we already have Zoom, I took the time to find a tutorial about enabling breakout rooms. So if you want to try something like that in one of your synchronous classes using Zoom, then you can go in and do that. But here's the trick to the trade here. Here's the teaching trick with the breakout sessions. Sometimes you can have a class that is a question answer type class, and some students have the same question and some students don't. So you can break them up into small groups or individual sessions. So you can use the exact same link and you can give students times that they're going to talk to you, and you can put them into groups so that they can interact and communicate, and then you can pull people in and out. As you learn to do this, you can create something special where you have group dialogues and then you pull back and then you communicate with the class. But you can do so many creative and interesting things by just using this breakout session tool. And I know how creative you all are. So, you know, you can think about ways to create those group activities that you would have in class, but to break the students up. The challenge with that is that you can't record the sessions, and that's for privacy, for small groups. You respect that and everything. But if you want to do something recorded, then you might want to experience something like Microsoft Teams or another one of our video software tools for these types of interactions. Next, I told you I will talk about some interesting tricks for class participation. So I'm talking about class participation where you have some students who are synchronous, some students who are in class. You know, you have a blend of students in different environments. So if you're going to take attendance if your students are in class, but if you don't necessarily want to deal with, okay, these students are in class this day, these students are out of the class because they're quarantined. Oh, it's so much going on. I'm going to just keep attendance for those students that were in class for the sake of us collecting information and safety. And then I'm going to have a class participation strategy that I use so that I can hold the students accountable for the lecture material, but not necessarily hold them accountable for being there at that synchronous time, at that sync time. So here we're talking about utilizing different elements of our learning management system to do participation. So the first option that I have listed here is the assignment link option. And so here you have your asynchronous lesson recording. So this means that you've provided them with a video of the lecture in some type of way. So whatever method you used, whether it was using your cell phone or whether it was recording Zoom and providing a YouTube link, whatever it is, you've done an in-class session or you've done some type of lecture with them. And now you need to hold them accountable for that material. So you're going to tell the students, I want you to do this homework assignment. I want you to align a topic from the lecture, a course concept, and then a reading. And then I want you to do an essay. You're going to pick this number of lectures before the midterm and this number of lectures after the midterm. And then your grade on that particular synthesized assignment is going to be your class participation grade. And what I do is I tell the students, why don't you share your great moment from the class, right? What is your great moment from the class? And then I want you to connect or align that with some type of concept that relates to whatever that lesson, and then something in the reading that you thought stood out to you. So this gives you an opportunity to make sure that they're doing the reading. And so this is kind of like a checks and balances thing here as well. And using this particular format, you can hold them accountable for the class lecture without them physically being there at that given time. Now, this is something that can be used for an in-class course. This is something that can be used for an online course. This is something that can be used for a blended course. So this is a process that can be used. Now, keep in mind, I'm telling you, my social stratification course, that course is right now hybrid, online, and asynchronous. Because I have the Zoom video going, I have an in-class session, and I have the YouTube live going on. So there are 3 different formats in one going on in this class, creating a lot of flexibility for students. But then I have this assignment link homework that allows them to be accountable for the knowledge and the material, which allows us to look at our kind of assessment type map that we have, like our map where we look at our learning objectives and we look at the material that we provide and the type of assessment that we're giving to actually assess student learning. So is the lecture something that's helping them to learn? Am I covering the things that relate to the reading? Am I bringing all of those things together to make sure that we're meeting the objectives of the course as a whole? This is the type of assignment that allows you to see that and to make sure that you are assessing student learning via your lecture material if you decide to do something like this. Or, of course, all these things that are listed here, take pieces of them. Take anything that you need and make it your own and think about your discipline and how you can make that happen. That's the whole idea of this collaborative education and working together with your peers to make sure that you can see how the things that you do can enlighten somebody else so that you can kind of utilize this online learning in creative ways. The other example that I have here is a discussion forum. And here you can have students to actually define certain concepts before the lecture begins. So this idea here is like a preparation. So let's make sure that you know something that we're going to talk about before I actually talk about it. And so you're going to utilize the discussion forum to present something that you've been assigned. So you have a list in an Excel sheet of concepts that relate to each lesson. And then you use your attendance sheet to align each student with a particular concept, so that for each lesson, they're automatically assigned a concept that they have to do. So the students can do this in advance, or they can do it right before the class, but they need to post it into that discussion forum so that they show that they're ready for the material that you're gonna present. And this is really good for the really complex and challenging concepts. And it also can serve as an exam review for your students when you do week-to-week or chapter-based exams, because then the students will have contributed to the learning process by providing definitions and such for their students that they can use to study. Of course, with our discussion forum in Sakai, you can go in and edit what the student has there, so you can have these definitions in advance and you can create feedback so that the students know what is going on or happening. Now that's a lot of work, but isn't it all a lot of work? Isn't it all the things that we do? You can also create these definitions in advance, or some of your textbooks have definitions in them already, and you can go ahead and have, you know, something there for the students. Here are the actual definitions, and you can upload that after the class is over or right before the class if you would like. There are many different ways that you can grade and rubric these things, but this is an example and you can make it however you would like. The next is weekly or lesson quizzes. And so this is no new trick. You know, lots of people do this. You have some type of quiz that you provide before or after the lecture to students. And it can be based upon the chapter. It can be, you know, reactive or proactive. You can have them take the quiz before you talk or after you talk. You can have the quiz set so they can take it multiple times. So you can set your quiz so that they take it before the class. They can do a pre and post quiz. What did you know before the class? What did you know after the class? So there are many different creative things that you can do with the quiz link in terms of the students gaining the knowledge. Is it really that you want to see if they were prepared, or do you want to see if they learned the material? As the instructor, you have to decide what your pedagogy is and how you want to engage the learning and how your grading is going to align with that. So some faculty members do have a student have the ability to take tests multiple times until they get it right. So I've seen that happen in lots of math classes where they constantly take it over to learn and engage those skills. Now that's a pedagogy situation in terms of knowing and understanding how to write multiple choice questions or how to write questions. Are you writing questions just to memorize something, or are you writing it for synthesis? You would have to decide that. And I do encourage you to look up different websites and such that show you how to create different types of questions for your multiple choice exams. It is actually a skill to write questions. Some people think that they can just go and write questions, but there are different types of questions that you can write for your exam that engage knowledge in different ways. I encourage people to not use "this is the definition of this" questions on multiple choice. I encourage you to try to get them to think critically about the concept and to be able to apply it. But again, do it how you think is necessary for your discipline and for whatever you're doing. These are just ideas to help. Next, video link. I think this is so fun. You can do images, you can do videos. I really like to make the class exciting, and this may work for some classes, but I encourage you to try this just to help your classes. Because if you are teaching online classes for the first time, you may not have awesome YouTube videos and TED Talks in your class. You may have to build that as you go along, but your phenomenal students can help you. Yes, they can. You can have them send a related YouTube video to be featured on the topic in the discussion forum for students to access about an important aspect of the lesson. And then you can decide to incorporate the best video into your future lessons. So this is a student empowerment method here, where you can have them find really interesting related videos and post them onto the discussion forum. And you can really look at them in depth to see if they make sense and see if they are great tools. And you can have a folder in your lesson with some of these great videos for students to learn in the future. And it can be a part of the participation grade. So you can have your students help you to create great online courses. Now, I've talked a little bit about ways that you can do videos. That was our first conversation. Next, we talked about small group synchronous learning. Then I talked to you some about class participation and different ways that you can engage class participation in an in-class setting, an online setting, and then a hybrid setting. Now I want to talk to you about blended pedagogies. So we have had all of these great trainings on how to use the learning management system, but now the university is talking about, like, how do you label your classes? Well, some of you have never even really learned about the names of different pedagogies that you can explore in an online session. And I'm so happy to show you this information right now, because some of you are already doing this stuff and you don't know what in the world it's even called. So I want to talk to you about that. And then I also want to encourage you to infuse some of these models into your class. So let's talk about them. All right. First is station rotation. So listen, this is what you can do. You can have students navigate different learning material using their cell phone or mobile devices. So this would require you to tell students you got to bring some type of mobile device in class. So you might want to make sure that everybody has access to a mobile device. But if you have a small class, maybe, you know, people may have access, and maybe we may have a couple devices or iPads or something like that in the department that we can provide for students who don't have them. We can check on that. But if everybody has access to a mobile device, you can have them look up certain information, and they can then post those responses into like a Google Doc. So what a Google Doc is, it's a Word document that everybody types into, and they can see everything that they're typing live. So you can use your mobile device to type something into a Google device, a Google Doc. And that can make it happen. So this really works best when people are at home using synchronous learning, right? So if somebody's at home and they're in their computer, you can have them open up a Google Doc, and they can be having, you know, some private typing, and they can be working out something using a Google Doc. And then you can utilize their information that they present for a dialogue or for a conversation. So again, station rotation, it can be a little bit difficult, but I know some of you can make it work. I'm going to try station rotations in one of my classes, but I'm not going to do it on a large scale. I'm going to do it with the small group. So I'm going to say, okay, you're my small group. It's your turn this time. I want you to take notes on this very important aspect of the lecture. And I'm going to have them create notes on what we talk about during that class section. And then those notes are going to be live, and we're going to see how that works out just for fun. Sometimes you try technology and you do things just for fun if you want to, but that's station rotation. Think about how you may be able to embed station rotation into your classes. And it doesn't have to be with Google Docs. It can be any type of way that you allow students to talk about something in stations without them touching each other. The next, homework discussion. So this is where you have a shared question. And this is called a flipped classroom, just so that if you all haven't heard of this, this is a type of flipped classroom. This is where you originally had 5 or 6 homework questions. And instead of having every student do those 5 homework questions, you divide the class up into groups, and you give each group a homework assignment question, 1 question. And then when they do their homework, you have them come in class, and those particular groups explain and describe their answer to the homework in front of the class. So by the end of the class, you had everybody address their entire question. And then as the instructor and facilitator, you provide feedback and dialogue about that group's response throughout the class. And then that's how you create the homework discussion flipped classroom. So before, the students were doing 5 homework questions and you responsible yourself for doing this whole lecture. But this time, you are actually responsible for talking about the whole lecture. The students have 1 question instead of 5, and the students get to engage every single homework question with your feedback attached. And that's how you flip that classroom. That's flipped. That's turning a long homework assignment into a shorter homework assignment, but an engaged learning experience. Now you have the students put their answer to the homework assignment on the discussion forum so that everybody has access to all the answers. You give the students the opportunity to turn that homework in after the class discussion. So they can turn it in before or they can turn it in after. But it is not due until after the homework has been discussed. And as a faculty member, you do not get an attitude because someone didn't turn their homework in yet. Because someone learned something that they had not learned before about their question, because a group provided the comprehensive answer and the faculty member then engaged that topic. This is non-selfish learning. So you don't have them turn their homework in before. They can turn the homework in up until this particular time. Some of our students are super confident and they don't need anybody's feedback to create their answer. As a matter of fact, they've got things to do and they've done their homework 2 weeks before. Other students need that additional support. And so we create that balance in that way. That's your homework discussion flipped classroom assignment. Next, we have flex learning. So flex learning is interesting because this is like proactive and reactive homework. So with flex learning, you provide an assignment. Your first assignment prepares students for the knowledge, and usually it's like vocabulary based, okay? So you would have the students do this homework before you have your lecture in an online setting. So they would submit this homework online, you know, in the discussion forum, assignment link, wherever you want them to submit it, that's fine. And then you have your lecture. After your lecture, you then give them another homework assignment, which provides an opportunity for synthesis. So this is a different type of homework assignment where they make connections. It's probably a writing assignment. So your homework assignment 1 can be a quiz. It can be just a basic, what are the definitions of this? You know, give us an example of this, whatever knowledge-based technique you use. And then the second would be to, after the lecture, to provide synthesis. So this is blended because you have an in-class lecture and then you have online submission of the homework assignment. That's flex learning. So this is using your in-class session and then using your homework to create an opportunity for knowledge before the lecture and then synthesis after the lecture. Now you don't want these assignments to be super long, because usually you probably have a homework assignment like this, but you probably give them the entire thing after they get the lecture. So sometimes for some of you, this is a matter of breaking one assignment up into 2 components. You see? The next is blended. So here you introduce students to concepts in the reading, and the class consists of these examples, like you may have them watch a video in class, or you may provide guest speakers, or you may do some type of storytelling. One of my buddies who used to teach at Shepherd would bring in books and different videos from adventures and different things, images, pictures of places that he had gone and things that he had done. He used storytelling to help the students capture whatever it is that they needed to learn. Also, there were action-based activities. So sometimes people need to see hands-on, you know, this is what this is like, especially for criminal justice in particular. There may be something that you want to show somebody how it works, or show a graph or a chart or something, and just get them into feeling and seeing what this really is. And so they learn the core concepts in the reading that you provide in the online setting in advance. And then the in-class session is this action-based applied type knowledge that you provide. So here you're obviously anticipating and expecting the students to know material so that they're able to synthesize it when you get in the class. But there's a name, that's called blended learning. That's called blended online learning, where you have the basic information being provided somewhere else, and then you are actually synthesizing and applying that information for the students. That's a type of blended online in-class learning. Next, we have project-based learning. Some people are really, really scared to do projects because they say students don't really like working together at all. But oh my goodness, the best types of learning happen when students who are very different from different backgrounds get together and they get to do something, you know, some type of project together. The challenge is how you grade this stuff. You know, the grading process is usually the issue with grade work because somebody doesn't want to get stuck doing everything and somebody else gets a grade for it. So when you talk about collaborative projects and content and such, you have specific homework assignments that people have to do, and then you're able to bring their work together to create a collective group assignment. So everybody's responsible for turning in something, and then that something at the end of the day creates this big project. So say for instance, you have two concepts that relate to one another. I'm responsible for my concept, I'm responsible for my video, I'm responsible for all of these elements. And when I put this together with my partner's work, it creates a collaborative project. So also here, the collaborative project is online. That is done online in a forum so that the teacher can see the progress that is happening by each person, where somebody submits something and their name is attached to whatever that is. And then there's one-on-one dialogue with the faculty, either in Zoom or in person. So this is your way that you have a blended pedagogy, because the faculty member gets to help each student engage before they submit something online. So there's special appointments that you have with your faculty member to make sure that you're on the right page and you know what's going on, and then you're able to post what you need to do. Now this takes coordination, but if it's a small part of a class or something that you do for a final project or something, it's a really interesting way to engage online and in-class material. Just interesting ways that you can utilize your forums and utilize your online course in order to create a very innovative, fun, exciting, synthesized learning experience. The next model that we have is a self-directed blended model. And so this is interesting because this is the type of online class that people complained about years ago, but the one-on-one instruction piece was not added. So a lot of people don't like student-paced online classes where somebody says, here's the whole class, do it, bye. All right. Self-directed blended is the type where you have a synchronous time for a class where students are required to come in a certain amount of time during a specific time to engage the faculty member. And then you have a student-paced online homework that they have to do. So here you may have taught a class before and you may have lectures that are pre-recorded. So the student is getting the lecture online and their material online, but then they have one-on-one instruction. And this one-on-one instruction is really interesting because it's kind of like inside out blended, which I'm going to get to, which is the point where the one-on-one guidance involves learning feedback, content teaching, content review, and especially moral support. Moral support is so important because some people don't do well online because they don't think they can do it. And they need encouragement from a faculty member. I know y'all aren't counselors. I know that. But support is a part of our job. It's a part of our work, especially when you do online learning. Support is extremely important because everybody doesn't do well with self-paced work. Everybody, everybody's different at this point. Right? Social differentiation. All your students are going to be different. So this gives you an opportunity, if you have this embedded in your course, to engage in this type of way and have one-on-one. Self-directed blended you might see in your capstone courses. Students may have an independent project or something like that, and that type of learning is called self-directed blended learning. Our internship class in the sociology program is self-directed blended work, where you have online work that you do. You go to your internship site, you engage face-to-face with someone, you do your internship work, and then you meet one-on-one with your faculty advisor. See? Next, inside out blended. So inside out blended, this is where classes are set aside specifically for one-on-one expert guidance. It is okay to take away classes from your lecture and then to post those lectures online for students, and then to designate specific classes only for one-on-one expert guidance. This is where you have students who have fallen behind, students who have issues, students who were quarantined, all of these things. You can actually set up one-on-one guidance a specific amount of time, probably no more than 20 minutes per student. And you can catch them up or show them where they need to go to find things, or just provide them with the support that they need to keep going, to keep working, to keep doing it. Inside out blended, that's what that is. Now, outside in blended is so interesting, because I learned about outside in blended learning when I visited Oxford University. I learned that a lot of their professors use outside in blended learning. This means that before the semester starts, their students get their textbook. They have a variety of reading engagement and such that they do, where they write notes and they learn all about the book. And then their entire in-class course is a mastery of material and entering the class, engaging the material, and synthesizing the concept. So they have a period of time where they're expected to learn material, and then they have a period of time when they come in the class and actually synthesizing and engage the concept. So some people start their classes online and they end them in class. That's called outside in blended. Now, this is a good model for honors students. This is a wonderful model for honors students. This is my last page for blended pedagogy. Aren't you glad? Next, supplemental blended. So this is a class where you add online components and lectures to the model to enhance the material. This is where you help students catch up, or you help students move beyond the knowledge required for the course. So every course has learning objectives that you want to meet. You can also use supplemental blending to add components to help your students, or to add components where you excel, you allow them to excel. Those of you who like extra credit, you can use supplemental blended for extra credit. So I encourage people to not have extra credit assignments, to be assignments that are aligned with the learning goals that you have to meet for the course. So you have the learning goals that you have to meet, and you make sure the students meet those. And then the extra credit assignments are either catch up or extended knowledge learning. So they receive extra credit for helping themselves do extra stuff. You don't receive extra credit for the stuff you're supposed to know. So that's just a trick to the trade with extra credit. The supplemental blended works really well for that if you'd like to add that. Last, mastery-based synchronous. So this is an example. I don't know if you've ever heard of digital humanities. This is where you require students to use digital tools for learning. So they may use something like Timeline.js, which is a special program where they have to create a digital timeline to showcase their knowledge or their learning. Or there are ways that you have them use certain technologies to embed videos and to create websites and things like that in your class. You have students actually use technology to learn. And that is a mastery of synchronous, because now these students are in class learning, they're in your online class learning material where you have them engaging, but they're also utilizing digital tools in order to show they understand something and that they're proficient. So digital humanities is an example of this. There was an amazing COPLAC experience that Dr. Ben Bankhurst and I had the opportunity of engaging, where we were able to co-teach a course and to teach students mastery-based synchronous learning, where we taught them online and we taught them how to use digital tools so that by the time they ended their class, they actually had a skill to take with them. So our professor here, Dr. Kevin Williams, is doing an amazing course where Ancestry.com is used, and the students learn about their their history, their digital history. They learn about their ethnic lineage, and then they're able to use software where they create videos, and then they actually tell a story using those videos about the ancestry.com results, and they learn about the ethnicities and cultures of their students as well as about themselves and their families. So there are ways that you can use mastery-based synchronous learning where you blend your lectures in class and online, and you have students utilizing current digital tools in order to engage their learning. This is the ultimate online course or blended course, because the students will leave that class with digital skills and they'll be able to apply them in their career field. So thank you for listening to the Creating Class Environments Using Video